All right, let's open a new one. Choose your browsing template. I'm going to have the 0 title block. If it's not there, choose from browsing template and choose the title block we created. Right. So we're going to do the guide block, and this is a multi-view. So we are going to, so maybe before I get started, I'm going to save as, and again, I'm going to save on my desktop. I'm going to create a folder that is called, you can just call it EDDT1040. And then save it in here. Let's change the name. This is going to be assignment 1, and you can call it whatever you want. And this is called the guide block. Sorry, this is not assignment 1, this is assignment 2. Save. And the reason I say that first, when you come down here to the title block, now our name is right in here. Now you have your designer name, so, but, all right, so now let's go ahead and draw a rectangle that's going to cover all 3 views, front view, top view, and side view. And it doesn't matter exactly how big this is, but if I look at the width, it's 5, the depth is 2.5, so round that to 3, add a couple more inches, so that's 8 plus 2, so 10. And again, it doesn't have to be exact. Push tab for the height of this block. So the height of the object is 1.5. So let's say 2. The width is about 3. That's 5 plus another 2. That's 7. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is where I'm going to have all my views. Select the object and explode, or you can type in X in the command bar. And then we can, now each line is separate. So now let's use the offset tool. And I'm going to choose the width first. And it doesn't matter which one you choose first. The width is 5, so this has to be exact. And I'm going to go from the left side over to the right. So there's the width of my part, which is shown on the front view and the top view. And if I push enter, it gets out of the tool. And if I push enter again, it gets back into the previous tool it was just at. Now it wants the offset tool, so I'm going to say, okay, the height is 1.5. And that goes from the bottom up. Enter, enter again. Now the depth is 2.5. This is the full depth, full width, and full height we're talking about. Okay, enter to get out of the tool. Now we can use this trim tool. You can click trim, or you can type in trim, whatever's fastest for you or most convenient. And notice I just click, I let go of the mouse button, and it clicks a straight line, or I can draw whatever just by holding the mouse button. And I'm going to keep this here for now, just for reference for a minute. All right, now I can focus on each view. Now, how do I know that this top view is, normally the front view has the most dimensions, so the longest dimensions, and that's this one. But this view has more features. It has 2 things popping up here. If you draw this, we see the 2 circles, 2 holes. So I guess either one would be okay. I'm just going to draw how it is on this assignment. Okay, now if you look at this, and you might not notice this, and that's okay, but I'm gonna, if I use a 1/2 inch, there's a 1/2 inch quite a bit, pretty much everywhere. So from the bottom down is this little slot through the part. Draw it on both the front and the top. And then there's little pieces coming up here, so bring it over on the front and the top. Oh, I meant the side on the other one. Okay. And again, we're going to be going down here and in here. It's pretty much a 1/2 inch on all of these, so pretty simple. Doesn't always work out that way. And more down here. Okay. So that's good. Now we can trim what we don't want. Use the trim tool again. And for this top view, I don't want that, that, that. I'm going to get rid of those two and those two. And this is not an object line. I'll change that to a hidden line. And let's use trim again. Now on the top view, I don't want those there or those. Oops, actually, I do. I'm going to just click this line and this line and change that to a hidden line. And then I'm done there. Uh-oh. Let's try that again. Okay. Now let's trim on the side view. Now this line right here is going to be hidden. So I'll get rid of this. Get rid of this. And these two. And of course that bottom one. And enter to get out of that tool. Change this object line to be a hidden line. Okay. Escape. And that is everything but the holes. Now, so we're back at the object line. You can draw a hole. Now you can change the type of circle to be diameter, radius, or whatever. I'm going to just keep it by default radius. Just if you look at the dimensions, has a circle with a line through. That's the diameter symbol. And so I could choose the diameter, but I like to just keep it. Less clicks is a little bit quicker, more efficient. So I'll click a circle here. And if you're not set up with the snap cursors, make sure the endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, intersection, extension, and perpendicular snap points are selected. That way when I draw my circle, I can go to the midpoint here because this is in the center. We can see that because it has center lines that goes all the way through. And if I just don't click anything with my mouse, just let it sit there, and then I could drag my mouse to the right. You see this green dashed line. If I look at my blueprint, it's 1.25 away from that. And we have a diameter of 0.75. All right, now it's set up for radius. I can click this, or even quicker, just type in D, enter, and then type in 0.75 as my diameter, and it puts my hole there. I can do that again, or I can just copy. So a couple ways to do it. And let me just start over on here. On any tool here, on down here in the command bar, it tells you what to do. It says select the object you want to copy. So select it, enter. And then it says select the base point. And I'm going to choose the center. It doesn't have to be the center, but in here I know exactly how far the centers are from each other. So I'm going to click on the center and then just drag it straight over. Make sure that's not angled at all. And these are 1.5 apart. All right, and then I can push escape to get out of that tool. And there it is. Now I need to show these holes on both of these views. So I'm going to choose hidden line. Select the line tool. If I just put the quadrant here and then leave my mouse there, and then it says quadrant, then just drag it down. And I don't want to start the hole until the top here, and I want to end it at this hidden line here. It doesn't go all the way through the entire part, just through this section, middle section. And I can push enter to get out, enter to start again, and do it on this side. And the reason I'm not doing all sides of the circle is because I can use the offset tool and offset the diameter, which is 0.75, and I can offset here and here a little bit quicker. All right, now to do it on this one, I'm going to draw a diagonal in this square. And if I select, and it doesn't matter which one I start from, I'm not gonna click, I'm just gonna drag it over to here. And now I can click and drag it all the way down to this bottom section, or this middle section. And I don't want all of that stuff. Delete that. And then I can use the offset tool. It's already set for 0.75, so enter. And there's my hole, and it's right smack in the middle. So you don't have to do it that way. You can find the middle here and figure out where it is, but I find that's a little bit easier sometimes. Okay, next we've got to draw center lines. Right, so I'm going to choose the line tool, and I want from the center of the circle, so I'm going to just drag straight down from the center. Click here to here. Now, I want this line to extend a 1/4 inch past. By default, that's what we do, 1/4 inch past. And then, so I don't have to draw that over and over and over again, I could just copy. Now, one thing, it doesn't look like a center line, it just looks like a red line. So in the command bar, if you just type in LTS, that stands for line type scale, enter. And right now it's scaled for 1. I could choose 0.5 and let's see what it does. If it doesn't work, we can try a different scale. And we could see that put it right there. If these lines are too close, we can try it again. We could do 0.75. Let's see what that does. Maybe a little bit better, 0.75. So we can play with that, make it whatever we need. But in the end, we want it to look really good and professional. So let's go ahead and copy this. So select this center line. This time I'm going to choose the center here, and I'm going to drag it over, and I know it's 1.5 inches according to my drawing. Okay. And I can also come over here. Now, see how I put the midpoint there, and then just drag straight up from there? Maybe. Let it sit there, and then drag it straight up. It's in the right spot. Okay, you don't have to do it that way, but a little quicker, we can just copy it 3 times, and there we are. Now we need a little crosshair for here. Now, let me see if I have it in here. I don't. So I need to make a block, and if I draw this, and then I can just create it as a block, and I don't have to draw it ever again. If I have a bigger circle, I can scale it whatever I need. So I'm just going to draw a just one for a 1-inch circle. So I'm just going to draw, let's see, because it doesn't matter what color it is. So I'm going to draw, say, a 1-inch diameter, so D1. And then if I draw a line, in fact, I can even do offset 0.25, because that's how far I want my extension past the object for the center line. And then I can draw a line. And for this one, I might want to change it to an object, or just a 0, because this is still a thin line, like a center line. And I'm going to change the color to red. And that way, it won't change the line type scale at all. It'll just be whatever it is. And if you want to, you can. Let's draw another line from quadrant to quadrant. And then I'm going to draw, in fact, I can get rid of those circles because they kind of just are in the way. So I'm going to draw another circle. Let's change that back to bilater. And let's have this be a 1/4 inch. And that's radius. And then I'm going to do an offset by 1/8 of an inch. And again, I'm just making the block here. You don't have to do this every time. But now let's trim inside. Let's trim inside here so that it looks like a center lines. And then I can, now notice I'm selecting, there's a few ways to select. I can use the green, which as soon as I touch an object, it selects it. But if I choose the blue, going from left to right, it doesn't select anything until I have it completely covered. So in my case, it's easier to just use the green side, green selection tool. I'll delete that. Okay, there it is. So I have that one. Now, for this assignment, I can just copy it and be done. But then next time I'd have to recreate it. So I'm going to come to the block panel and choose up here this asterisk and choose create. And I want to make sure this is selected, specify the on-screen object, base point, and the objects. So I'm going to call this the center. And you can call it whatever you want, so you know what it is. Push OK. And then it says down here, specify the insertion base point. So I'm going to choose the center. I can choose anywhere I want, but in this case, center makes the most sense. And then it says select the object. So I'm going to select everything, push enter, and now my block is set. Now if I select this, it's just one solid object. So I can move this, the center, and put it in the center of, now I want to show you something real quick. If you're moving something, I'm just going to copy that, copy it from the center. If you don't see this little center point, you have to kind of put your mouse across the circle itself before it'll see it. So sometimes that won't show up. There we go. Push escape, get out of the tool, or enter. And there's my two crosshairs, and they look perfect. So now I know this is a little bit more than a 1/4 inch because this is a smaller circle than 1 inch, but yeah, no one's gonna throw a fit over that, so we'll just leave it. But we could if we wanted. All right, so that's everything. It's drawn all the way, so I don't need this anymore. Get rid of that. And now what we need to do is put in some dimensions. So I'm going to dimension the width first. Now the width is shown on the top view and the front view. You always want to dimension the features. So this piece is poking out and this piece is poking out. So don't dimension that from here to here, because this is not the actual feature. Part that pokes out, that's where we want to do it. And so we're going to do, let's see. And we need to count how many dimensions we need. So if you start from this left line, left vertical line, and we're going to count everything after that. So we're not going to include that one. 1, every vertical line. 1, 2. Notice I'm not counting these two because this center tells me where this circle is. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need a total of 5 dimensions to show all the dimensions I needed for this part. Now, just because you need 5 doesn't mean it can be any 5. Don't want to have any duplicates or any yeah, anyway, no duplicated dimensions. So we'll dimension from here to here. Now when you do it, you click and then just leave your mouse there for a minute. It says perpendicular, so go up and say 0.5, just to keep our dimensions consistent so it looks really nice. Now if you look at this precision, there's 4 decimal places. We want to change that. If you go to annotation panel, this annotation arrow down here, we can change the style of our text, the style of our dimensions, the style of our leaders, the style of our tables. So I'm going to choose the dimension style. Let's click modify because we want to change it a little bit. And if you go to primary units, it's set for decimal, and that's generally what we want to use. unless we're dealing with like architecture or something like that. But here we want, if you look at our blueprint, it's set for 2 decimal places. So I'll choose 2 decimal places and choose OK and set current and then push close. Now, since I'm already in the tool, I didn't get out of it, then it's not going to change this. But if I got out of the tool first and then did that process, then it would change it automatically. So I'm going to get out of that. And if you don't, no big deal. Just type in regen to regenerate everything, and it puts it where it needs to be. Now, maybe I can move this to be in the center. And that's kind of tight. You might want a little bit more room, another way to do that. And this is okay, but just to show you, we can change the dimension style again, modify. This time I want to go to fit. Right now it's at 1. Let's try 0.75, just 75%. Push OK. Let's do set. And notice it changed it automatically because I was out of the tool. So that looks a lot better. And it's still not too small or too large. So you want to be careful what sizes these are. Don't just keep the default. And then we can choose this feature. And again, I can type in 1/2, or I can just snap it to the level of this, and it's exactly the same. So either one. And then, so that's 1, 2. So I also need the full dimension. Now I can put it here, but I got a dimension where these circles are. I'd rather do that on the feature itself. Actually, I can do that right here because these are poking out, and that'll make so that it doesn't go through the object line. Either way would be okay, but I think this one's a little bit better of a bad thing. So you always want a dimension to the feature, but then it would cross this object line, so that's a bad thing. But I think this is the better bad thing. All right, so dimension, and I can either dimension, yeah, let's just dimension this full length. Let it sit there, bring it down 0.5 just so they're all the same. Oops, 0.5. There we go. All right, now I can dimension where these holes are drawn. So I can dimension from top here, top of that center line. I want to do the highest point. I guess it doesn't matter here because I can just kind of snap it there. And then I can do another one from here to here and snap it there. And I could have done either side. But see how they're all lined up? Looks beautiful. Very professional. Okay, next what we need to do is, actually I might change this a little bit. So we'll get out of the tool, select this. You might click this and bring it down another 1/2 inch, just so that I can use my, now if I click this dimension, click the arrow, choose diameter, because these are measured in diameter. I can choose this, click this, and just eyeball it, I guess, maybe halfway in between there, so you have room so it doesn't crash everything. That's why I brought this one down. Then if I double click, I can change the text, and I can push my arrow button all the way over and say I do capital X for times, and then a little space. So this tells us we have 2 holes, and since we only have 2 holes in here, we can do that. So both holes have a diameter of 0.75, just so that we don't have to dimension too many things. All right, so that shows me my width. I can count again to make sure. Have going from here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, plus the dimension of the circle. of the hole. All right, so my width is perfect. Now let's do my height. If I start at the bottom, count all the horizontals. 1, 2, 3. I counted on here as well. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter which one. They're the same. So I can dimension. I need 3 dimensions here. So to dimension from here to here, I don't want to dimension to the hidden line. So I'm going to dimension. I'm going to start here and end here. Because if I started here, watch what would happen. We can see that dimension line, that extension line, goes through the object line and kind of covers it, so we don't see the object line. So I don't want that ever. So I'm going to choose this point and this point. Let it sit there for a minute. Go over. Type in 0.5. There we go. And again, I can move this to be in the center so that it's a little bit nicer. And again, I'm going to have to do that right here as well. I know it's going through the object line, but it's better than going from the center. So type in 0.5. And then while we're here, this one kind of has a lot of dimensions, so I'm going to share the welt a little bit. And I'm going to dimension the full height of this thing. But this time, I want it to go 1 inch so that they don't crash into each other. And then, of course, I'll get out of that tool, move this so it looks a little bit nicer. Right there. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I have all the ones for my height. Now for my depth. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 4 for the depth. Now I am going to, so since these are the features, I'm going to dimension those features. I know that's on the outside, but I'd rather dimension to the features rather than go through the object. So from here to here, wait a second, go down 0.5, and again on this one, and I can either type in 0.5 or just snap to that one so that they're the same. And I don't need to dimension this if I have the full depth dimension. So I can dimension here because this is also the depth. Let's share the welt. Okay. And of course I got to dimension how far this circle is, or the hole. So I can dimension here to here so it doesn't cross. And then just wait for a second. Go up, make sure it's straight up, and then type in 0.5. And you can see all those line up perfectly. And that's exactly how you want it. There's a few of the dimension lines or extension lines cross the object line. That's a no-no, but they're really, I mean, I guess I could dimension further out here, but then we're kind of overcrowding over here, and so this is probably better. Now, I could probably just go without this maybe, because if I extend this center line all the way through, but it's either the center line going all the way through everything or this, so either way. So we'll just leave it there. Push escape, and so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and none of these duplicate anything. So this 0.5 and this 0.5, they don't duplicate because we can't just assume they're the same. So we have to have those. Same with these two and these two. Can't just make assumptions. All right, that is it. Now we need to go to our title block, and let's go click on the model space, double click the mouse wheel inside here, and what it does, it tries to just put it to fit perfectly, and we don't want that so close. We want it in a little bit, and if we do make it like that, it goes too far. So I'm going to double click, and if I notice down here, this is my scale, it's 0.82. Maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller, maybe 0.75. We can try it and see what it looks like. So click on this arrow, and there's not a 0.75. So I'm going to choose custom. I'm going to add one, and I'll call this maybe 75% or 0.75, your call. So the paper size needs to be the 0.75, and the drawing unit we'll just keep at 1. Push OK, and then we're going to choose that. Oh, now we got to do it again. So we just added that, so now it's right here. Choose 0.75, and it just brings it in a little bit, and that looks good. So we have the date where we made it, has that, and again you should have this be your name. Right now it just says designer name. All right, and then that's exactly how we want it. So while we're in here, make sure we're back in the paper space before we plot it. Otherwise, it's going to show all these little weird things. We don't want that. So make sure we're in the paper space, and then choose plot. And by default in our template, this should all be set. If it's not, set it up in your template so you don't have to keep doing that. Push OK. And again, I'm going to save it in the desktop. Make a folder. Make sure you can call it whatever you want, just on the desktop. And I'm going to plot it here. And I can leave it saying title block if I want. It doesn't matter. Probably okay. And then push save. And that is what you turn into Canvas.